Hi, everybody. This is Jim Miller. I'm the owner of Vino Slush, wine slushy mix, and a variety of other products that we have, including a bourbon slush mix. And we're here today to do a tasting of the Vino Slush and the bourbon slush and our bread dipping mixes. And my understanding is that Elizabeth and Elton have everything in terms of the products ready to taste. So I'll throw it to you, Elizabeth, and we can start with tasting. I guess it's the wine slush mix you want to start with.
Sure. Thank you, Jim, for introducing us to this very different product. We've never seen anything like this in the market, and we taste and review products all the time. So we're really excited to do the Vino Slush, and it was really very simple.
Big Bowl.
And
So, Jim, great looking product. Tell me what I should expect to taste
To
to your
taste,
specification. Yeah.
well, it is a neutral base. It does not have a flavor. The Vino slush does not have a flavor unto itself. It's a neutral base,
Okay.
and the beauty of it, and the reason it's so versatile, is that it takes on the properties and the taste of whatever wine you use with it. So if you're using a Merlot, for example, it's going to taste like a Merlot slushy. And it's so versatile, it works with any kind of wine, red or white, sweet or dry, doesn't matter. Even works with champagne and fruit juices. So what you're tasting
Okay.
is whatever wine you're using to make it with.
Okay. I see.
mm,
Okay.
yeah, and
So
it's
let's
and
see.
it's and it's delicious. Yeah.
Thank you.
So
You can
it's
really see the
so
elements.
it's a wine snow cone. Snow cone.
Slush. It's a wine slush.
Well, I
Yeah,
guess I
the
don't. I
Vino
mean,
slush.
mm,
And it was really simple to do. All I did was add this with the recipe at the back, of course, and blended it in my blender, and it was really good. So if you're, doing a Fourth of July or you're celebrating with the family, this is something that you can get everyone involved, and it's really easy to do. So
Yeah.
thank you, Jim. This is a fabulous product. I think this is
Thank you.
awesome.
I might also add
And
that
it's
in addition to making it in a blender, if you're going to be using it sometime later, as opposed to drinking it right at the moment, on the directions on the back label, there is a freezer version where all you do is mix the pouch with a bottle of wine, and you fill that empty bottle with water. So you get a bottle of wine and a bottle of water and the 12 ounces of the mix that come in the pouch. You mix that all together until the mix dissolves. And instead of using a blender, you stick it in the freezer. And after it's frozen, you bring it out, you let it thaw for a few minutes, and you slush it around with a spoon, and then you pour it in
Yep.
your wine glass, and away we go. So there's two different ways you could make it.
Yeah.
And for wineries, of course, they're probably using a frozen drink machine, and they would take all of that and put it into their machine. But for the consumer at home, two different ways to make it: the freezer or the blender.
so I'm understanding this has a commercial alternative or just a residential entertainment profile where people get together and package it and try out and drink it that way.
It's
I like
both.
the idea that it's used in a
Okay.
winery because people want to do a tour and a wine tour, and then you're all sweaty, and this slush is so perfect, and it would be great for a tasting room. Absolutely fabulous, knockout, good
Okay.
job.
Mhm.
Um,
Thank you.
we want to go into now. I've been reading a lot about bourbon, and I find that it's an all-time Southern favorite. When you
Yes.
think about champagne, you think of France. When you think about anything, but this is homegrown, and and what better drink to have during Fourth of July, or if you're watching the Derby or something. And this is a product that is very hard to make if you try to do this on your own. You get the quantities wrong, and it's called by so many names. But this is the bourbon slush, and I think the Jim has done a fantastic job with this. So
So,
this one we didn't blend; we just froze, and we did it overnight, and it's very icy and delicious. So yeah.
okay. So tell me about this one, Jim.
Well,
You don't mind.
as Elizabeth mentioned, it is a tradition that has been around for literally over 100 years, particularly in the South. And the traditional recipe for it involves a lot of things that are a bit of a hassle. You have to make tea. You've got to brew tea from scratch, which is, a bit of a hassle. And you also have to make your own simple syrup on the stove in a pan, sugar and water, and boil all that. Who wants to do all of that? And then the variety of measurements and so forth. And it's just a bit of an ordeal to make it from scratch with the old-fashioned recipe. So I've streamlined that. I've eliminated all of that hassle and inconvenience, and I've put another little bit of another product in there to add a little zip to it. So the bottom line is it tastes just as good, if not better, a little better maybe, than the traditional recipe, but it's so easy to make as opposed to all the hassle involved in doing it the traditional way. And it tastes, I'm sure you feel that it tastes great. And what a beautiful color that turned out to be. That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. It did.
Okay.
It is. And
Let's sample.
And it was so simple because you just took it out of your freezer and it was like it was already done for you. So this is awesome.
So let's try it. Let's try
Yeah.
it. Very sweet. I don't know. Is it supposed to be sweet?
It's very nice. It's delicious.
There is some sweetness to it, yes. A lot depends on how much of the bourbon that you add and maybe what brand of bourbon as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. I can see how that could be a very delightful summer drink.
Yeah, I think so.
Very good. So,
and then this is one of my favorites. I have had a roommate from Sweden, and she called it something else. She called it glögg. And I think here we call it Mullen spices and apple cider. And I have long loved this drink for Christmas. And it's a great European taster. And with us in the South, loving iced tea so much, I think this is a great Southern favorite with your Mullen spices. So yes, I think this is really delightful. Yeah.
Well, that's great. I didn't realize that you were going to be sampling the mulling spices, but I'm glad that you did.
Yeah, you sent it to us, and I couldn't wait because I have friends that do.
It's spicy.
So for our audience, it's as simple as just this. This is how it comes in, and then you can follow the recipes and make these beautiful drinks for your winery or for your home. Yeah.
I'm just going to let that ring, and we'll just continue on with our tasting.
Yeah, and now we're going to taste we've got two versions of the bread dip, and I think the first one is the Sicilian herb, and as you can see, it's something that we have been sitting here for a couple of hours now in olive oil, and we warmed it up for the tasting. So all you have to do is dip a piece of baguette, and I should have.
The reason that we always recommend the baguette is because a baguette is very dense. It doesn't have a lot of crumbs that would come out and be in the dish that you're dipping into. So that's the reason we recommend. But it works with any kind of crusty bread. But a baguette is especially dense. And that's why it works so well with the baguette.
It does. It reminds you of being in an Italian restaurant and dipping these beautiful spices so well crafted and so well put together.
Does it matter the olive oil? They blend well with all?
It's a matter of personal preference. I prefer the kind, just the regular kind. Some people also prefer the virgin olive oil. I think it's just a matter of personal taste. And for those of you who are watching, they don't know how we make this. So let me explain that the little packet of spices that we have, that's right, there they are. And we have that in garlic and in Tuscan. and both of them are available. They're the same price. They're on the website, and that's fine. But the simple and quick, easy way to make them is very simple. You take those spices and you mix them up with 1 cup of, I guess you could say, any kind of olive oil, and you let them kind of hydrate so the flavors of the spices become infused into the product itself, which is the olive oil then. And you pour that onto a plate, preferably a white plate or a clear translucent plate, so you can see all of the spices at the bottom of the dish. So then you take your baguette or your crusty bread or whatever and dip it into the olive oil, and make sure you kind of squash it around a little bit there with to get some of those spices onto the bread, and then you eat the bread, and it's just a delightful add-on to the wine slushies and so forth. So that's the quick and easy way to make the bread dipping mixes.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sending us so many of your delightful products, and I think this was such a delightful tasting. So I'll just go through it again. And so we started with the vino slush, and that was the vino slush that we did in the blender, and then we did the bourbon slush, which, as Jim said, the color is absolutely gorgeous, golden. And this was so simple. You just froze it. We just froze it, and it was ready to drink. And then the mullein spices, that is such a delicious tea. I added apples and oranges, and made it like an apple.
I don't think
jasmine.
I don't think I explained how they make that. It comes in that little package, and then inside the package there is a special tea bag that has a drawstring on it. And you take those spices and you simply pour them into the tea bag and pull the drawstring on it, which contains the spices, and you put it in a crock pot with the wine and the water, and you let it simmer for like an hour or whatever. And did you notice the fragrance that came out of that crock pot that kind of filled up the room with this wonderful fragrance? And then when you've let it simmer until maybe an hour, couple hours, whatever, and then you just grab that bag and toss it away and help yourself. And the reason for the bag is that so afterwards you don't have to skim off all of those little particles of spices and so forth. So it's super convenient, and basically you're throwing it in a crock pot with the wine and the water, and an hour later it's fantastic. So that's how you make the wine mullein spices. And you were going to go on with the bread dipping mixes now.
Yes, and so we did. We tried the Tuscan garlic, which I think is my favorite, and then we tried the Sicilian herb. And actually, Jim, we have authors from Sicilian herb, and they're going to love this too. And I'm going to recommend it to them. Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is awesome. Yeah.
So
now, is there a reason why you picked Tuscan and Sicilian? They're so different, and everyone thinks
Greek
everything
and
Italian is the same.
Greek and Italian?
Both Italian. Both Italian.
Greek is
no, it's Sicilian and Tuscan.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason we chose those is dependent on a couple of different things: the suppliers of the ingredients, the cost of the ingredients, and so on and so forth. So it was kind of an arbitrary thing that we thought it sounded good and tasted great. So we just went with those two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
I think they're very good choices. Yeah.
Thank you.
So there you have it. For those of you who are watching, we're going to just share a slide so you can see everything is available on Jim's website.
VinoSlush.com.